The silence becomes unbearable.
Lincoln Lewis, thank you so much for joining me beyond the white room. How are you?
Good, legend. How are you?
Good, thanks. It's been a hot minute since I've seen your face.
It's been a bloody couple of years, I'm telling you. Christ, how
Yeah.
long's it been?
Well, I was looking back trying to figure it out the other day, and I think it was 2016 or 2017 the last time I saw you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely been a while.
So it's good to see you.
Yeah, what have you been up to since COVID's been going on?
Dude, well, I mean, kind of just getting used to the way everything has to be done, really. But in terms of work-wise, the whole industry's kind of slowed down a little bit. So I think, yeah, like a lot of the arts industry's just really come to a bit of a halt. So I mean, it's getting to that point where it's starting to pick up now. So I'm just doing an Aussie film being shot in the Gold Coast in November, and just been doing a lot of ambassador stuff in the meantime. But you know, anyone with regards to just normal hanging out and stuff like that, you just kind of readjusting, getting out of all the old routines that we're so used to. Not to say anyone's taking it for granted, but it's kind of one of those things where it's because it's an everyday routine, just getting out and seeing people, going to cafes, doing whatever you want. And then all of a sudden everything just kind of changes in an instant. You kind of just readjust and just kind of got to make do. Hopefully everyone's going to be, there together to help pull each other out. And so when all these
Yeah.
borders do start to open up, everyone can just sort of be in that same mindset where it's just like, it's sucked for us. It sucked for you guys. Come over, come chill. We're going to come visit you guys, all that kind of stuff. So hopefully, yeah, everyone's been going through the same sort of stuff. Everyone can help pull each other out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, like it's not really first world problems, but when I get like a bit like caught up and upset about it, I always think, you know what, so you're healthy, you're safe, no one in your family is sick, like just be thankful for that. Like this, we'll look back and it will be like, oh my God, do you remember that like time in 2020? Like it'll be a flash, but yeah, I'm just thankful like that no one that I know was sick, to be honest.
It is kind of that time where we realize just how lucky we are to have done the things that we've always been able to do, and how during this everything's just had to come to a complete stop. And we've just seen this massive rise in a lot of people really calling mental health helplines. A lot of like people everywhere, and far out, like it's heartbreaking because they're the statistics that you don't hear as much about. Like you want to hear about all the statistics worldwide, Australia-wide, statewide, citywide, all that kind of stuff. But you also want to hear about the statistics to do with how people are going mental health wise, because it's growing exponentially. And like it's you see why, given everything
Yeah.
that's been going on. But Christ, it's crazy. And so like, to take it back to what I was getting at is, when you said first world problems, it is to sort of see everything that's going on around the world, and sometimes even in the state next to us and all that kind of stuff. It is good to keep that perspective, because it grounds you and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
But also remember that everything is always going to be relative to you as an individual. So
exactly.
what gets me down may not be the thing that gets you down, and what gets you down may not be the thing that gets me down. So yeah, it is good to always have that solid grounding, but always just remember that you still do need to take that time just to sort of go, okay, if something does get me down, I have to sort of address that, because that helps keep connection with your own self and your own mental health. And then you're able to really sort of address things, in your own mindset.
Well, on a lighter note, by the way, I was saying before you came into the chat room that people may know you from Home and Away or Tomorrow When the War Began. And Tomorrow When the War Began I think it's actually still one of my favorite movies, but I honestly thought the way that they finished the movie, there was going to be a second one. Can I just
Yeah.
ask, like, where was there supposed to be a second one? Like, where is
There were supposed to be sequels. Yeah, there was.
Okay.
So we were meant to film 2 and 3. We were meant to film 2 and 3 back to back, and we were going to do that shortly after the premiere of the first film. So the way it was set up was so, to leave that to be continued. And Stuart Beattie, our director and also writer of the film, of the adaptation, he he plotted out 2 and 3 while we were doing number 1. And it was really cool because when we were on set one day, there was myself and Dennis and Chris, who played Lee and Homer. And we were hanging out, like we were in the back lot of Fox Studios. It was in the final week of filming, chatting with Stewie, and we're talking about just the possibility of 2 and 3. And we said, when are you going to get writing on it? He plotted them out. What? Sorry. And he's like, yeah, I'll plot them out. Do you want to come in and I'll tell you about them? Like, he just had the ideas and he'd sort of written them down on some paper. And he told us what the ideas were for 2 and 3. And it just kills me because as such a fan of the books, I brought the books to Sydney when I moved to Sydney to do Home and Away before there was like even any, like, you know, at least a year and a half before there was any chat of the movie or anything like that. I just love the books. And so when hearing of the ideas for 2 and 3, I was just like, oh, this is going to be so sick.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that we didn't get to do sequels, which like still kills me every time I think about it, and I get asked about it a lot.
So I've seen on Instagram that you are the ambassador for the month for Australian Organic Awareness Month. I didn't get that right, but you're the ambassador for the month, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So basically they hit me up at the end of last year and I didn't even know what Australian Organic Awareness Month was. But then they made me aware of why they created it. So just to like put it into a nutshell, Australia is the only developed nation that doesn't have a regulating body surrounding the use of the term organic. So it means that any packaging with even a certain percentage of organic material in it can claim that it's an organic package. So I could say organic this, and it might only be a very small percentage of organic material in that. So the reason they've created that is to showcase all the producers and suppliers that have reached the standard of what it takes to be certified organic. And it's also to gain a lot of traction that hopefully either this year or next year, our legislation can be passed to say that in order to have organic on your packaging, you have to meet that requirement. So it's kind of showing what the standard is, and all the other countries that have organic on their packaging, I think they have a regulating body. So just sort of say if you're going to say you're organic and you're not, then you're going to get really smashed. So there's that, and then it's just showcasing all the different products that are so widely available now that, you know, just to sort of show you don't really need to make a massive change or drive out to really find a little back shop that sells organic stuff. Because you see these days, supermarkets are full of organic stuff and a lot of them are certified. And you go back 10, 15 years ago, there'd be like a little part of an aisle which might have said some organic stuff and it was in like a little back section, or you'd have to specifically go to an organic shop. Whereas these days it's everywhere and it's a real growing trend. So, and then just sort of talking about the benefits, not only for individuals, but for the land, the care of the land, you know, just to sort of give you a bit of an example, you know, the no use of pesticides in the crops, no use of hormones or steroids and so everything's free range grass fed. And so they've really kind of these producers that have been doing it since way before it was a thing to do. They've really paved that way, and they've went through a lot of the hard work to make sure that is kind of the blueprint to go through. We've went out and we've talked to a bunch of different producers, so right from the ground up. So the farmers to the meat suppliers, to the flour mills, so like self-rising flour and pancake mix and all that kind of stuff. And like not just all the things I mentioned, but also the faces that are behind the companies. Because, you know, you think about everything and there's always going to be big companies and you don't really sort of think too much about that, or where's my food coming from and all that kind of stuff. And also, like, organic isn't just what we eat, it's what we put on our body as well. So there's actually a real growing number of cosmetic companies which are meeting the certified organic standard. From your moisturizers, you know, to your shampoos, all that kind of stuff.
Skincare, it's a real thing.
Yes. Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. And some of my friends who are like, they really break out when they use certain products and chemicals and stuff like that. Some friends of mine that are like in the industry, whether they're in the modeling or the acting game, and so they really look for those alternatives where they don't have to put chemicals on their skin. And then, yeah, you know, you talk, and then just for the land as well. So a lot of these farmers, these organic farms, because they're not using pesticides and all that kind of stuff, they're actually one of the farms we went to, they're like planting all these different plants and crops around their farm, which attracts certain bugs, which will feed on the bugs, which would otherwise destroy their crops. So it's kind of using nature just the way it should be to kind of help combat that. And then when it comes to weeding, I'm like, how do you do all that kind of stuff to make sure that the weeds don't overgrow and kill your crops? And he's just like, mate, so we have a machine that'll obviously like pave the way for all our crops. And he goes, after that, it's just rolling up the sleeves and we do it by hand. I was like, mate, you go through your entire field. It was just one that we were talking about at that time, but they've got a couple. I said, you go through them. He's like, oh, a machine will do some of the big ones if it's just like sort of, you know, going through the laneways. But after that, when it actually comes in between all the different crops, like all the broccoli and all the kale and all that kind of stuff, he's like, yeah, we just go in there and just rip them all out by hand.
Oh my God, it's hard enough doing your back garden.
100%, right?
Oh my God.
So it's things like that where you go, wow, they really put in the hard yards to make sure that that's like they practice what they preach.
Yeah.
And so yeah, when you see all that kind of stuff and the hoops that they have to jump through to make sure that they're certified organic, and it is no change for us to sort of look at one product and look at another product and go, okay, I'm going to choose to buy that over that, because at the end of the day, the only difference you're going to be making is purchasing a product which is going to be helping an Australian company, an Australian, you know, producer that has just jumped through the hoops to make sure that we're not putting too much crap in our bodies, and also is ensuring a bit more longevity for the environment and everything. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I personally, like in my household, we try to do everything organic, but now that you've opened my eyes up, I'm going to have to look back and see, is it certified organic or not? I don't know how it is in the Netherlands compared to Australia, but I'm thinking more like, okay, am I actually doing like organic? I need to ask, what are you doing now? What's next?
So currently Australian Organic Awareness Month, but also an ambassador for a initiative called Containers for Change, which it's just for the Queensland one that I'm an ambassador for, but it's basically where you give your cans and your empty bottles into a recycling depot, and you get 10 cents per can per bottle. So it's just an initiative to try and minimize the plastic waste and cans as well, just to they can be recycled, reshaped, and remade into other products and stuff like that. So we've done some filming on location in the Sunny Coast for that, and so an ambassador for Containers for Change, which is great. Australian Organics, which is awesome. At the start of the year, I got asked to be an ambassador for Currumbin Wildlife Hospital down in the Gold Coast. So I went through a tour of the facility, and I mean, I was honored to be asked to be an ambassador for those guys, because I just I love animals. I love being in the ocean. And so let's just say for Containers for Change and for Currumbin Wildlife, it was really cool to be asked to be part of their team. And I said earlier that I'll be doing a film in November, which would be a bit of fun. First time back in a set in a bit, which would be great. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to adventure in the meantime, whenever we can. I have to stay pretty local, so it's whether it's Gold Coast or Sunshine Coast for me. I'm very fortunate to be in Queensland. I love calling this place home, but yeah, especially in a time of now. And so yeah, just trying to keep busy while the industry's still trying to find its feet. So yeah.
Well, I'm excited for you to get back on set in November. You must just be like buzzing.
Yeah, I'm frothing. Well, it's gonna be sick.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here. I've had the best chat ever with you, and I look forward to seeing what's next.
Yeah, no, it's been good to chat to you. Like we were saying before, it's been way too long. So thanks for the chat. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, we'll see you when you get back here.